I'm here with Rob Eldridge, and we want to discuss the DJ Satellite project. One of the first things I want to ask you is, where you talk a little bit about the inspiration on the blog, but what was that moment of clarity that kind of said, I want to kind of run with this and take this more than one track?
You know, I purchased this DVD of The Dark Side of the Moon, and I was just kind of watching Alan Parsons, who produced and engineered the record, kind of watching a short documentary of Pink Floyd, doing The Dark Side of the Moon, and, through that moment, I was thinking, what an undertaking to go ahead and come out with a group of songs that are homogeneous together that kind of serve the purpose and reflect the actual title of Dark Side of the Moon. So it's kind of like, going through that creative stage and saying, that would be an undertaking that would take a tremendous amount of focus and time and concentration to be able to put something together like that. And then I was, thinking about rock opera, and that's a little further down the road. But as I was, finishing the actual concept itself, I started having all these other ideas. So it kind of like snowballed. It came all together once,
So, we might discuss this as a concept album. You mentioned Pink Floyd. You talk a little bit about David Bowie. Obviously there's some other bands that have really made a success out of concept albums. And some who have made absolute disasters out of concept albums. What are some of your favorite concept albums?
I most certainly love Dark Side of the Moon. Not saying that's a complete concept album. I don't think they actually went into the studio with the idea that we're going to write a concept record. I think they had more of a concept when they did The Wall. I think that the Dark Side of the Moon, the music kind of reflected and maybe drove the title more than the title driving the actual record. Absolutely loved The Wall. I love Tommy. I love Quadrophenia. Any of the Who concept records. Huge fan of Flaming Lips and the Soft Bulletin record, which I think is somewhat of a concept record. So I have a few of them that I certainly draw inspiration from.
Okay. Did you in this kind of imagine yourself as the DJ out in space? And if you were the DJ out in space, what do you think are some of the songs you would play, some of the emotions that you would try to get through the audience? And you also talk about kind of like a punch to the head and kind of penetrating the skull or the mind of the listener, the viewer, the reader, whatever you want to call it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that when I started to write the Satellite DJ project, I kind of I try to put myself in that position as much as I can, from a mental state of mind. I kind of compare it to someone that wants to sail around the world. There's that tremendous amount of isolation. The only difference is when you're, sailing around the world, you can feel the elements. You can smell the air, you can taste the air, you can feel the water, you can feel the temperature. Being a satellite DJ, not sitting in a booth as a satellite DJ, but actually in a satellite orbiting around, our Earth. In the beginning stages of it, there's so much excitement to this concept. I'm going to launch myself into orbit. I'm going to have all the communication capabilities to communicate to, whoever wants to tune in. If it receives a lot of media hype, I would definitely tune in myself. I want to hear what's going through this guy's mind. So that I definitely wanted to put myself through that exciting phase of launching into space, and that's kind of what Warp 1 from Satellite DJ kind of talks about, satellite thing. it's just a spacey thing. You know, I'm going up into space. There's a lot of excitement in there. I'm carrying a tremendous amount of hope in my views about the world, because I want to take people off the couch. I don't want them to be watching their television sets. I want them to, you know, have their headphones on in a dark room or looking up into the sky and wondering, you know, what this person's seeing, what this person's thinking. So I definitely put myself in that character role. And then I realized that, you know, if you're up there for that amount of time, you know, you have to feel, you can't avoid the isolation. You know, there's no human contact. It's not like you're having a conversation like you and I are having right now. You're thinking about people listening to you. You don't have the capabilities of receiving any commentary from anybody else. So at what point do you start to go a little crazy? You know what I mean? Like, and that's where thinking while sleeping and sleeping while thinking is one song. It's like he doesn't realize if he's dreaming, sleeping, thinking, you know, it all goes into one. You know, so there's definitely that part of the satellite DJ where I really realized the isolation factor and, you know, going a little bit out of your mind, you know.
So you talk a little bit about isolation, and you know, in some of your commentary, you talk about some of your, I don't necessarily want to say obsession, but your heavy interest in the idea of space and so forth. How much of this comes from you, and how much comes from the character of the DJ?
Yeah, I think I've always had, you know, a strong affinity to the world beyond the world that we live in. You know, you know, if you look at the vastness of our universe, and, you know, just like any, you know, scientist or astrophysicist, I think they come to the conclusion there has to be some sort of life form out there. So, you know, always going through my mind, there's got to be something more than what we live in right now. So, you know, I think that like I said, I've always had that strong affinity towards space and life beyond what we have right now, and kind of removing myself from reality and trying to create a path that's not ordinary. You know, you know, I'm a huge fan of cable TV. I love to watch TV. I love, you know, the favorite shows. I love sports. I love to attend all the normal things that, you know, most normal people do. But I also like to try to force myself outside the norm and try to do something different. And so I think that, you know, taking on this you know, project and concept really forced me to do that. You know, so I definitely think that the character kind of drove me, but I was already halfway there.